Hello and welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. I hope everyone is doing well out there. Um yeah, I had a hello and welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. I'm your host, Lauren. I hope everyone's doing well out there. It's been pretty busy my way. I know this episode is a little bit late. I am recording it on the Monday evening and I'll get it out pretty quick here. I came off night shift this morning after a full round, and I even had a little OT overtime before my regular round started last Wednesday. So I thought that for this week, I would just kind of share what's been up for me, because I know that, if it's going on for me, I'm probably not the only one. And anyway, yeah, it's all good. So lately, I have been, I don't know if I've mentioned in past podcast episodes, I feel like my brain is still kind of warming up. I had an afternoon nap and then I popped out to grab some groceries and just kind of got squared away a little bit and thought I better get my episode recorded so I can pop it up this evening and get a few things done. But I have been feeling the urge to purge lately, actually for a long while. But I found with just how I was feeling mentally and emotionally, and where I have been at in my grief journey, it just wasn't really available for me. I didn't really have the capacity to, because anyone, as you know, when you decide to purge, you kind of have to be right in the right mood, and you have to have the energy for it, right? Especially if you're doing, large areas or multiple areas over time. You have to just be okay to like rip a room apart or a closet and then like start going through stuff and deciding what to keep and what to get rid of. And then when you're getting rid of it, is it going in the garbage? Are you donating it? All the things, right? So even though I've been feeling the pull to start going through different spaces, um it wasn't enough to kind of get me going. So recently I've been starting to feel a little bit better. I did have a couple bad days about a week ago on the weekend. I slept for a couple days, really. Just some, I don't know, it just, some stuff hit me. It was my uncle's anniversary and 4 years since my uncle Cam passed away, and I was missing my aunt because on his anniversary we would normally get together and go to the cemetery, and I was missing my dad. So it was just kind of, it felt compounded that weekend. And I also wasn't feeling well physically. I was kind of fighting a cold or something. So I just spent some time in bed, had a good cry, and just let my body feel the weight of it and process it. And then I started moving again and kind of getting it up and out. That's how I kind of see it. And now I'm feeling motivated again to keep going. And one thing that's different this time as opposed to the last, say couple winters, which to be honest, the last couple winters have been kind of a shit show. So I didn't get all of the things done that I wanted. But before now, everything was in my head, like all the things that I need to do, right? And so finally, for the first time, if you're watching this on the video, I have a little, like a whiteboard thing. I did my winter to-do list. I wrote it down. So I'm a visual person, and it gets it out of my head, right? So it's not taking up space, and it keeps me organized. I look at it and I go, okay, what's kind of the next area I want to tackle? And I can look at the list and kind of judge by maybe the size of the task. Some are larger than others. I have a couple closets I really need to kind of tear apart and look through closely. And then I have drawers or like in the bathrooms, in the cabinet drawer, like the drawers of the sink and underneath the sink, those are smaller areas to pull apart. So it's like, okay, well, how much time do I have? How am I feeling? Am I ready to tackle this? And what type of job do I want to do? So I have been working through my winter to-do list that way. And I also I have a few other like craft projects, right? Because it's really the intention is reducing clutter. Part of that is going through my fabric, creating or completing some projects, making some quilts. And the other thing is, the other big thing is my yarn collection. I have quite a yarn collection I've accumulated. So I've been making beer mitts and selling them. It gives me a little bit of income, extra income to put towards things. I do need to save for a car, so that's helping. And also it, makes a bit back from the money that I've spent on the yarn initially, which is always helpful. So, where do I want to go with this? Yeah, I've just been working on some areas. I started with my clothes. I pulled all my clothes out of my closet and just like put them on the bed. It was a big mountain because I usually switch out my clothes seasonally. I try in the fall and the spring, and then I try at those times when I'm switching my dresser drawers with the clothes. I try to do a purge and decide like what have I not worn through the season? Am I realistically going to wear it next, in 6 months when we're back into this season? If not, I put it in a big garbage bag. I have a couple girlfriends who like to go through my clothes, and which is super fun. I love hand-me-downs. So when I'll be in my hometown this week and I'll take the clothes to one of my girlfriends and then we'll figure out how the other one can get them. And that's super helpful. I like doing that. So twice a year I go through my clothes. I have been more I would say mindful about buying clothes and like what I really need. So I've slowed down that way, which is good because sometimes I just get really excited and just buy things and it's like I really don't need another sweater. So I've started to ask myself, do I really need this? Is this something I need or is it just a cool color? And if not, I'm gonna pass. So that's been it's been a journey. The other places, just I did my linen closet last winter before things kind of erupted with my dad's things. So I was kind of starting to get the ball rolling, and then I just feel like things absolutely fell apart and I was in pieces for a really long time. And now I'm focusing on where where I want to put stuff. I have some of my dad's stuff, and part of me is not quite ready to really dive into it. I've sorted through some of it. My sisters and I have gone through stuff. Um, but there's other stuff to kind of work through. And right now I'm kind of I'm in a situation where I don't really have a great place to put it right now. So it's kind of like, okay, well, I need to clear some other spaces, move some things around, decide if I want things to stay where they are or go to a different space. So I'm kind of doing I'm doing a purge and a shuffle, and then I'll make room for my dad's stuff. And then if I'm not ready at that point to really like go through it and donate stuff, then um I won't. I'll have a place for it for now, right? Because I think you kind of have to be ready for that. And I am not forcing myself. I'm being gentle and giving myself grace of like, if I'm just not ready to work through it yet, I will be at some point. And right now it's just about creating a nice space for it to at least live in the meantime. So that's what I've been working through. Um there was a couple other things I wanted to just chat briefly about. Oh, through this process, it's been interesting because one of the projects, I've been talking about a few of them, so sorry if it's boring, but I'm just like kind of like mentally going through my house and chit-chatting a bit about the different things that I'm working through. One of the things on my to-do list is to read books. I have so many friggin' books I've bought or been gifted over the years, and so many that I haven't read, and a lot of books that I would just read once and then donate or sell or whatever. And now is the time, I've decided now is the time, because I go through phases where I'll read a lot for a while and then not read like for a while. So I've decided that now is the time while I'm decluttering to start reading some of these books. And I have a bag. When I finish a book, I log it in the Goodreads app, because one of the things was like, oh, I'm gonna forget that I read, or which books I read. So I log it in the Goodreads app. That way I have a chronicle of what I've read. And then it's like, oh yeah. So then it also, I just need to take a breath. I'm getting a little like worked up. Okay. Because I know sometimes as a listener, it can be a little overwhelming. So I'm like, I just need to take a minute and take a breath. One thing about me is I tend to be, not tend to be, I am very sentimental, like incredibly sentimental, if you haven't noticed already. And that extends into physical items too. Things have more emotional value to me in like the weirdest ways. Even as a kid, I really held on to physical things, inanimate objects, in ways that probably wasn't the healthiest, but I look back now, there's no shame. I look back now and see it as like that was just part of like a coping thing or whatever, right? So it's okay, but I see it how it is, and I'm deciding, well, I don't really want to continue that pattern. So I'm just going to be more mindful of the things, and I find a couple things that help me when I'm getting rid of things. If I'm really having a hard time, and this has been since I was a kid as well, my parents would take pictures of the things. And I still have the picture. Realistically, now that we're in the digital age, yeah, I'll take a picture with my phone. Do I ever really go back and look at it? Not really. So maybe eventually I'll get rid of those pictures too. But at the time and in that moment, at least it helps me to then part with that object. So it's leaving the house. So then it's not in the house, just so that I know that I have it or have had experience, like whatever it is, right? It sounds weird if you don't relate, but if you do, I think you get it. So if you do get it, pictures are helpful for me. And then if I choose to look at them again, great. If not, like whatever, they're still there. Um and another thing, that I do, um I just lost my train of thought. Take pictures of things. I feel like I was gonna go a little bit deeper into that, but I'm not sure. It's funny how, especially when I come off nights, my brain just totally frazzled. Perhaps this wasn't the best day to record an episode, so bear with me. Um, yeah, I'm going through books, I'm putting them in bags, and then I'll donate them. And then the books that I want to read, it's just about whittling down my collection and being more intentional about the books that I have and I'm keeping. And then another area that I was talking about briefly, like whittling down my yarn and fabric, right? So I've been making drink mitts with my yarn and then selling them. So it's like I remember where I was going with this. A natural extension of these two intentions with both reading and finishing projects and just kind of whittling down the accumulation and the stash, I guess you could say, the crafting stash, is not only has it allowed me to create kind of um a routine of reading. I'm reading more, and I started to read before bed, and how that's translated is I go to bed maybe a little bit early, not always. Sometimes I'm still super tired in the morning, especially if I'm on day shift, but it's allowing me to have that quiet time off my phone. So I'm getting off my phone earlier in the evening and just spending time reading, because depending on the book and how long the chapters are, the chapter's like 20 pages, like, okay, I'm going to read one chapter a day and get through the book. Otherwise, I just kind of read for a little while till I get drowsy and then I go to sleep. But the point is, what has organically happened is now I'm not on my phone till like the second I go for bed to bed, which I know isn't a great habit necessarily, but it's just the way it's always been. So it's been really interesting how this initiative to purge the house and looking at different areas of the house has started to create new habits for me. And I've been really enjoying not being on my, like, maybe I'll check a quick like right before I go to bed, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just like, nah, I'm good. And if I do, I haven't spent the last hour on it, right? It's just like a quick thing. I'll check a message if I want to, or a text, and then I'm turning it over and going to sleep. So yeah, that's one thing. And then the other thing is with completing projects, making these drink mitts and knitting and stuff, which is also like I've since I started quilting in 20 January 2016. So it's almost been 7 years. And it's not consistent by any means. It's usually in the winter time, but when I started quilting, I was knitting less, right? So then my yarn stash was just kind of like sitting there, not really doing anything. So that's why I really want to whittle it down and be intentional about what I buy and the collection I have. But I went on a knitting hiatus for a long time. Sometimes I'll go like I would say years. I've probably done that before where it's been a couple years. And now I'm like back in the swing. I started crocheting a couple years ago, making these blankets and stuff, but I'm back to knitting. And another way that it's really serving me, not only to complete things, make a little extra money towards my car and get, just declutter, is knitting is therapeutic. It's a hobby, right? So it's like I'm making myself do a hobby, but it's really not making myself in a sense because I do enjoy doing it. And it's keeping my hands busy, and it's knitting. It can be very meditative because you're counting, especially if there's a pattern, you're counting stitches and stuff. And even if you're not doing a specific pattern, you're kind of counting stitches still a little bit as you go around to make sure you're not dropping things and stuff. But I've been really enjoying the conscious creation and just knowing that, hey, my yarn bin, which used to be hard to put the lid on because there was so much of it, everything kind of sits flush now. And I have a lid that's like taller than the bin, but now everything's flush with the bin. And so it's cool to see the slow progress of like, hey, I'm making a dent in this project and I've been enjoying it, and people love these drink mitts. So it's one of those things where it's like I got some quiet time, or I'm in the car with Eric and maybe I'll just work on a mitt and you know pass some time, make it a little bit more productive. You don't have to always be like doing something. And but I do find, and I was talking to someone the other day, it was my sister-in-law. We were talking about being busy and stuff. And I said, you know what they say, if you need something done, ask a busy person, because the people who kind of keep in motion or know how to keep in motion and really like they know how to manage their time. So they know how to squeeze things in, and they know how to just like juggle multiple plates, which again isn't always the best thing. You just have to be mindful of like, am I taking on too much? Am I doing the shoulds? Do I need to reevaluate? But lately, aside from a couple heavy grief days, which I really just fully surrendered in, I spent like 2 days in bed for the most part because I was kind of in between night shifts. I called in because I was feeling unwell into my night shift, and I was like, "Ah, I don't know if I should come in tonight because if I end up getting sick, I don't want to pass it along." And then so I came home from work, slept obviously, and then basically just like kept sleeping. I called in and I slept that night, and then I slept the next day and the next night. It's like it was a lot of sleeping. And I feel privileged that I have the opportunity to do that when I need to for the most part. I obviously try not to miss work, but when you're like, this is the season of stuff going around. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to pass anything along. And then it ended up the grief hit me like a ton of bricks as well, so it's kind of compounded, but I slept so much, I didn't get sick, and, I came out the other side knowing that, "Hey, I surrendered, I let my body do what it needed to do." I didn't judge myself for it, I wasn't hard on myself for just, like, needing to have a couple quiet days, and then after I kinda slid out of it on the Sunday morning, that's when I was like, "Hey, I'm ready to pull apart the underneath the stairs," and I started vacuuming stuff. So it was nice, a nice progression of, um, okay, you know, I let that happen. Now I'm ready to start moving again. I think I did a workout that day as well. I did a run. So there's gotta be balance. We can have the heavy days, just let them happen. Have your tools ready so that you don't stay there. We don't want to live there, obviously, right? But if you have a bad day or two, it's okay. And find those people that will validate that for you and aren't going to shame you, and they're your tribe. So anywho, I'm going to that's like moving to a different tangent, but basically the moral of this episode is decluttering is great, and sometimes there's little hidden gems within it that you'll it can change your routine potentially. So, anywho, I'm gonna pop off. I think I'm gonna go do my like a jog, my next one. My husband's not home yet, so we're just gonna get ready for dinner after that. So I'll do a quick jog before he gets home because we have a treadmill downstairs, and then do my editing this evening and a couple things before I head to my home down tomorrow. So I hope everyone's well, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.